continuous use and may vary.
This portion of your talk show is brought to you by Cedar Crest, where active seniors live the life they want.
Your community, your opinions, your forum. This is your talk show on WCLO. Opinions expressed on your talk show are those of the host, guests, and callers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WCLO or Big Radio staff, management, or sponsors. The open phone and text line number is 608-752-4000. Now, here's the host of your talk show, Tim Bremmel.
And welcome back. Interesting times, that's for sure. Working from home became a necessity instead of a luxury for most people. And that's, I'm sure, causing a lot of thoughts in individuals' minds and companies' minds. Should we let this happen? Can we let this happen securely? All those kinds of things. I know a little bit about it. I don't know a lot. The person we're going to talk to next knows a lot. James Pearson from the Computer Center in Janesville on the telephone with us. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for taking some time. These are certainly unprecedented times, and we have an influx of home workers, myself included. I'm not going to speak specifically to the situation that I find myself surrounded with here because it's somewhat unique. But it would seem to me that we've got kind of two classes of people that can work from home. If you basically can just do all your work on the internet, you're cruising to websites, you're changing website postings, you're doing all that kind of stuff. You've probably done that to an occasion, and your company probably has a certain amount of security built in. But there have to be a number of companies, and I'm guessing you maybe are getting calls from them, who have never really done this before, but now out of caution, out of employee concern, out of the fact that they may have people that eventually get diagnosed with this illness, are going to have to look at that as an alternative just to keep things running. What are some of the security, the baseline security concerns and or answers that you've been running into in the initial stages here?
Hey, great question, Tim. Thanks. And yeah, it seems like the last 2 weeks, all we've been doing is setting people up to work remotely. And you're absolutely correct. A lot of people, for a lot of small businesses, this is the first time they've even thought about this. And now they're scrambling to put this into place. What I'm going to recommend is really what we recommend always for any business. And you and I have talked about lots of security features in the past. And we've talked about the 7 layers of security that we discussed and that I've talked about in my books. And really what you have to consider is, how do we make sure technologically that we continue to protect our workers when they're at home? And the unfortunate part about this is that because people are scrambling, they're really kind of doing it quickly sometimes without a lot of thought as to what that exposes them to. So, we still want to look at a home user as an employee of the company, as somebody that is working on your data and your client's data, and that needs to be protected just as if it were in your network. And what I found is that a lot of home users really don't pay that close of attention to the security like many small businesses do. And so just some real basics, for example, we still want to make sure that we have passwords, strong passwords, that we've password protected our routers in our homes, that we are using strong passwords all over, that we have antivirus installed, good antivirus installed on those machines, that we are creating, that we're using up-to-date and patched computers. So, for example, and this has come up several times, you really don't want a home user or a business, hopefully, using an old Windows XP or a Windows XP or a Windows 7 machine at this point. I mean, they have some serious security flaws, and so you want to treat them as if they're in your business and not allow those kinds of things either. So there's quite a few things that we really have to consider.
So let's approach this, James, from sort of that standpoint. I'm a small company. We do. It could be. I don't even know who uses computers in what capacity anymore, but it seems like everybody does. So I'm an HVAC company, and I go in and I fix furnaces and air conditioners and that kind of stuff. And I got people out in the field and parts on trucks and all that kind of stuff. And we usually come into the office and check with each other, and you get calls and whatever. You say, look, email me. We'll email you your call list. If you need parts, contact the ordering company, arrange shipping, all the things that you might be doing. But you're going to do that from your home computer or your laptop. And we've never done that before. Maybe they issue devices, which some companies are doing. What's the baseline here? What do I need? I need, apparently, if I'm hearing you right, I need Windows 10, for instance. Is the Windows antivirus enough? Do I need some extra malware? Do I need a VPN thing? And we can maybe touch about all those things that you're going to list off here separately as we go. But basically, I'm an employee that was on a work computer wired into the LAN where the IT guy had this thing all clamped down just the way it needed to be, and it was perfect in my office. And now I'm going home with a laptop and going to try and do the same things. What is that machine and that structure at the house? What are the must-haves?
Sure. So, and of course, I'll start by saying every business is different. So you should be working with your IT professional to ask all of these questions and know the answers to them. So a couple of things. First of all, if a company is deploying devices with their employees, that can help because hopefully the IT department has some control over those devices already. So, for example, you may be bringing your laptop that you use in the office home, Tim, and that already is being monitored. It already has enterprise-grade antivirus on it and protection on it. Those might also be monitored by the IT department. So it's very different if you're bringing that equipment home, okay, from work. However, in a lot of small businesses, they don't have an IT department that's done all this, or they don't have the resources to send everybody home with a laptop. So then we have to start asking some questions. For example, is there software in your company that is only accessible when you are on site at the company? Software that runs on a server, for example. You mentioned the HVAC example. So some HVAC companies now have cloud-based software, and they're using this on tablets. So they're already used to working remotely in a lot of ways, and they just need an internet connection of some sort. Mm-hmm. But if that software is running on a server, and the only way I can access it is being inside the walls, if you will, of the company, well, now we need to talk about how we're going to get at that. Are we going to be remoting in using a piece of software, like you mentioned, a VPN? There's a couple of different ways about that. But let's assume that you're allowed to work at home and you're allowed to use your equipment at home. So a couple of things to check off. First of all, I want everybody to lock down that internet connection, because now we're sending information, company information, corporate information, client information, back and forth over the internet, and that leaves us vulnerable, correct? So we want to make sure that in your home you've got a good internet, fast internet, and then that it's password protected. So the router that you bought off the shelf can't be left in that default configuration. It needs to have a password on it, a good strong password. The Wi-Fi should also be protected. It shouldn't be open so that your neighbors can jump on. Just because we're in this crisis doesn't mean the bad guys are going to stop looking for opportunities. As a matter of fact, there's some indications that they're loving this, that they are a business that's going to be strong during all of this. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, let's go back to the Windows. Yes, no Windows 7, no XP, because they're no longer supported. So we want to make sure that we have a machine that is recent and that has all the patches and updates on it. Okay, so whatever mechanism you're using to do that, you want to have all those patches, all those security updates installed on the machine. Because again, those are what open up holes and security issues for the bad guys. Strong passwords always for all websites, all software that you're accessing. And Then the other part comes back to that software. Is it just cloud-based software where all I need is a web browser? In which case, again, I'm hoping everybody's using a good password there, not the same password that they're using for the email account and things like that. Or are they connecting back to the office some kind of way? A VPN piece of software, a remote control kind of piece of software where they're actually remoting into a computer that's still sitting in the office, for example. So those are kind of the basics that we at least need to have in place.
All right. And again, you're right. This is a variable depending on your company, your workplace. You want to check with them first. But a lot of us, I think, that have kind of separated what we do at the house and what we do at the office. And so those PCs have never really mixed before, are probably finding this challenge. If I've followed your advice, James, in the other shows that we have, so on my home PC, I have Windows 10. I have the updates, and people should check, I guess, to make sure that they have their updates turned on. I guess you can turn them off. I got that on. I'm using, let me just look at my tray right here. What does this say? This is Windows Security. No actions needed. I have also Malwarebytes, I think, running on here. Yep. And my company has set me up with a VPN so I can get in and do some things into a server that does only serve our broadcast purposes there. It's not available to the outside world, but those of us inside need to work with it. I believe that that's probably pretty good for me. But if someone doesn't have any of those aspects, or do I have overkill? Is Windows security good enough, or do I need Norton or McAfee or somebody like that? Do I need Malwarebytes if I have Norton and McAfee? What are the kind of overlapping issues there?
Sure. So I'm always going to say that good enough, maybe not good enough, that obviously we're going to be as overly cautious and security-minded as we can, okay? So whatever we can do is a good step forward. When it comes to antivirus products, I've seen them throughout the years. 1 year McAfee wins all the awards, and the next year, Norton wins all the awards. And then, of course, in my world, dealing with businesses, there are enterprise and business versions of all of those products that actually behave differently. So I'm really more concerned about, hey, do you have one, and is it working? Is it on? Is it up to date? And is it working? And I know that, somebody's going to argue with me and say, well, this one's, let this through, and this one's, coming out, on the top of the lists right now. But you have to have something. And so if you have an antivirus program, and hopefully it's also checking websites and for malware, which Malwarebytes does, it's looking at the websites you're visiting. The more of those layers that we have, the better we're going to be at protecting that data, whether it's your personal or the company's data. Now, I will say that don't have two antivirus programs. So Malwarebytes and Windows Defender are a little bit different. They behave differently and do slightly different things. But that would be one thing where I say don't rush out and put on three antivirus programs. Don't put McAfee and Norton on there. That's one thing that it'll just bog down the machine and make it not behave well. So you've done the patches and you've got the antivirus on there, and then your company's provided you with the VPN. So what that means is that activity, at least between you and the office, is encrypted and secure, and that's great. So that means that it's not able to be intercepted. Now,
so does that mean that I can comfortably, James, from here, from a remote site, somebody with a VPN connection, if I typed in my social security number here and sent it across the VPN to the office, that somebody that would be able to intercept the data stream, I guess, for lack of it, would only see a bunch of garble and they would have no idea what that was. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So again, as long as you're using, whatever VPN software they've set up and it's going to the office, then that data is encrypted. And so it's secure. And yes, you have a good, secure connection. Now, of course, and again, depending on how it's configured, we want to make sure that you're not doing that outside the VPN, in a browser that's not connected to your VPN at work, for example. So again, every situation is a little bit different, but yes, what you have now means that it's encrypted from your computer to to the office, and that data is protected.
Now, let me jump in a second here again and qualify for people, because you're the expert here. I'm just asking questions I don't know the answer to. So that VPN is one thing. For me to the office, my office has set it up for me, and in general for people. I'm talking first person, but I mean, if your office has set the connection up for you, they tell you, here's the thing, here's how to put it on your machine, and here's how you get to it. That's between you and the office and whatever. Because there are all these other, as I understand it, VPN-type programs. I even think some antivirus programs now fold in an option for you to have one. Does that offer the same protection that one that your company's IT person sets up?
Yeah, really the goal of any VPN software or connection is that I create this it's a virtual private network, is what VPN stands for. It means that I create this separate network on my computer between me and wherever I'm going, work in this case, and that is secured and encrypted, and it behaves as if you were sitting in the office, sending that data between those two locations. So yes, that's a secure connection.
So it's basically like a really long cord.
Yeah, that's a good way to think
basically
about
like
it.
a really long cord.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
And then we go to this other thing that I've seen out there. There's all kinds of services. I get email offers from places. Hey, you need a VPN. You see them on TV. You need a VPN because people can watch what you're doing and blah, 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 and get your information. And is a VPN something, James, that maybe you should just consider having anyway, or what is the use for your typical home user and now home worker of something that's not provided by your company, but something that I know is widely available out there in a bunch of different services? Sure.
So now that cord, if you'll use that analogy again, goes between you and whoever that VPN provider is. So really what we're doing now is we're saying, all internet traffic or all traffic from a particular piece of software that's going over this VPN connection is scrambled between us and whoever that provider is. Now, at some point, people might use that and need to get out to a website. And the difference being there is that now I'm not going over the same wired connection that, over Charter, for example, that everybody in my neighborhood is using. I'm still using that internet provider, but the VPN software is taking all that traffic, encrypting it, and sending it directly to whoever that VPN provider is first. So it's kind of creating this other tunnel within a connection, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I think
benefits
so.
There, are really that you're adding yet again another layer of security. I am taking one more step to make sure that my communication from my computer to wherever I want to go is encrypted and protected, and therefore more difficult to get into.
All right. Obviously, as it relates to working from home, James has given you baseline. Your company is the direction you should follow for the most part. And if you're a small company and you're looking for consulting on exactly how do I make this transition to having myself or my employees work from home, James, is that something you can help out with at your level, or do you have suggestions as to where they can go for some resources?
Sure. Yeah, we absolutely work with small businesses. So we're typically looking for companies that, and by that I'll define somebody as, 3, 4, 5 or more computers, basically. So yeah, if you're a small business, it's certainly something that we could assist with. We definitely would be able to sit down virtually at this point, have a conversation, assess what you're looking for, and then make some determinations as to what the best route for that particular company is. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, what we've been doing kind of nonstop the last 2 weeks. So yeah, been busy with that.
I am sure that you have. All right, I want to pivot here, and maybe I should use this if you can hang with us to take a break quick. I want to pivot to something that I kind of mentioned in the last hour here and get your take on it and maybe some potential thoughts and things to try as it relates to the overall ability of the Internet to go from its previous service levels to potentially serving just about everybody. We'll come right back with James Pearson on your talk show on WCLO.
Hi, I'm Richard Gruber, candidate for Janesville City Council. Is Janesville a better, stronger, and safer community than it was 5 years ago? Absolutely yes. We can be proud of a strong police, fire, and EMS service, better roads and bridges, continued downtown redevelopment, new businesses with more jobs, and a can-do spirit. Much has been done, but a great deal of opportunity is ahead. Working together, our best years are to come. Vote Rich Gruber, Janesville City Council, April 7th. Paid for by Friends for Gruber, Richard Gruber, Treasurer.
At Mercy Health, your health and safety and the health and safety of our community is our top priority during these difficult times. Visit mercyhealthsystem.org/coronavirus for a variety of resources to help you stay informed. Access a symptom checker, learn how to connect with healthcare professionals, and more. It's everyone's responsibility to do their part to stop the spread of this virus. We assure you that Mercy Health is doing everything in our power to keep you well.
When local matters to you, Janesville Gazette.
It's news from a friend.
The Friday night game. Information you need. And the money you save. More things to do. More places to go. The world delivered right to your door.
All the local news you're looking for.
When local matters to you, Janesville Gazette.
Do you have a procedure schedule that requires time away from home to recuperate? I'm Ben from Cedar Crest. Come and see why our person-centered care model has been rated 5 stars by the Center for Medicare. Cedar Crest offers physical, speech, and occupational therapy to get you back on your feet. We also have options if you want to make Cedar Crest your home. You have a choice when it comes to rehab. Go to cedarcrestlife.com to find out more. At Cedar Crest, home happens here.
Is it possible to overreact to market volatility? Financial advisor Ellie Swart from Wells Fargo Advisors in Janesville. What can someone do if they're feeling uncertain that their money is in the right place?
At Wells Fargo Advisors, we offer a complimentary face-to-face meeting to help find out if you're really on track for retirement, or if your investments could be better aligned to your goals, or to see if you've overlooked some necessary steps to transfer your wealth to the next generation. Whatever's on your mind, we're here to listen, and we'll help you evaluate your plan. It's free, and there's no obligation.
Senior Vice President Investment Officer Ellie Swart can help with a review of your current investment plan. Call her today at Wells Fargo Advisors at 608-758-5310. 608-758-5310.
Our goal is to help you live the life you want.
Investment and insurance products not FDIC insured. No bank guarantee, may lose value. Wells Fargo Advisors is the trade name used by Wells Fargo Clearing Services, LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer and non-bank affiliate of Wells Fargo & Company.
Tired of fake news?
Every day I listen to my alarm.
Turn off the tube and turn back to local radio.
I do feel very well informed.
The real thing. WCLO, Janesville, Beloit.
Beautiful morning.
It's not bad. Looking out the studio window in Orfordville. Still get kind of a kick out of that.
Live from the remote offices.
The internet is an amazing thing in a lot of ways. As much as I bemoan technology and how it is abused and how we apparently feel very comfortable being nasty to each other because we don't have to see somebody face to face and all those things I lament. This is a time when, as a tool, you can use a tool in a good way or a bad way, and a lot of people are really trying to do some good stuff with it. James Pearson is our guest from the Computer Center, and James, one of those ways, by the way, is our 50-50 Friday thing that's up on the internet. Well, now if you need to save some money, it's a good way to do that. And we've got Max Pizza Shack going up there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. It won't last long. That's why I'm giving everybody the heads up here. It launches at 9 o'clock, and probably by 9:10, if not before, these will all be gone. $60 in gift certificates to Max for only $30. And I want to leave everybody with this idea. Again, the dynamics behind this and how that's agreed upon by the people that put the offers up on the radio station. It's too complex to get into, but you're paying half price basically for the gift certificate. And if you are of the means, and we've been talking a lot about how to support local businesses, this would be the perfect time that, hey, when that delivery driver does come to your house with your pizza, leave the difference in a tip. Leave the difference between the gift certificate and whatever, or the full amount of the gift certificate. This is sometimes a great way to be able to spread the wealth a little bit for folks, and just think outside the box as to how you might normally function with those kinds of things. But anyway, that goes up on Friday. You do not have to use a VPN connection to get there. However, James, if you're going to put a credit card number in, maybe you'd want one, right?
Maybe, and at the very least, make sure that the website you're doing it at is trusted, somebody you know, and that you have the little lock symbol. Depending on your browser, you're going to look for that little lock and the HTTPS up in the upper left-hand corner, or the green bar, again, depending on the web browser. So part of security is really just being purposeful, being conscious, being purposeful, taking a moment to stop and say, is this email really from the CDC talking about COVID? Should I really be able to get a free test through the mail? Or, is the World Health Organization really emailing me, for example? So,
right.
Again, just be purposeful. To stop and think. We're all kind of panicking and reacting, and that's not going to help the situation. It's going to help the bad guys, but not us. So just stop and use good common sense.
All right, out here, James, in the grand metropolis of Orfordville, we have limited options for internet service, and I see this across the local Facebook pages all the time, and I've struggled with it as everybody else has out here as to speeds. If you're in a city like Janesville and you're hooked up to Charter, your internet cruises along on a typical day without a hiccup in most cases. Where it's limited in its speed and or bandwidth, as they call it, I guess, people will run into trouble, and they already know of this, but we are beginning to hear reports that this whole situation between people just going stir crazy and saying, well, I'll fire up Netflix and watch binge watch another series or whatever it is beginning to bog down the speed at which the internet goes. Again, I often liken this to, okay, if you've got a garden hose and you turn the tap on full, the water comes out at a certain velocity. If you put one of these adapters on where you can split the water 2 or 3 or 4 ways, you find that at the end of the hose it's not coming out nearly as fast because it has to split it up. And that's a very oversimplified idea of how the internet's capacity works. Are you hearing anything among the industry that we're beginning to stress the internet to the degree that we might end up with a problem? For instance, we're talking about virtual health visits and telehealth, which would be important. We're talking about communications between governmental officials and the public, which could be important. Probably not as important as me watching Star Wars for the 48th time over Netflix. What are you hearing as regards to capacity and the ability of the internet to meet the needs if everybody's suddenly home?
Yeah, and great question. And first of all, a great analogy, actually. That's perfect. So I was just in Forbes was saying that the internet usage in general has gone up 70% through all of this, and Spectrum is actually a lot of the broadband and providers are giving away internet to people that need it, school age kids and things like that. So yeah, we've seen an uptick. And the other catch is that in addition to just the internet providers, the Charters and the AT&Ts and whatever broadband you have, us consuming more of that bandwidth, we also have more load on the remote servers. So you look at technologies like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, which are good, strong companies that have great backbones supporting their technology. Well, now all of a sudden, in one big swoop, you have thousands of extra users teleconferencing all of a sudden. Microsoft Teams even had a short outage, I think it was Monday, as we moved to teleconferencing. So not only is it the internet providers that are feeling this, but it's then the end companies providing the services that are providing it, because of course they have to provision more servers, more data on their end just to handle the extra usage. Just like if we were doing this in your network at the radio station, if we had 30 employees, that's going to look very differently for the people trying to access that server or that piece of software than the current load. So yeah, we are starting to see it. We're starting even. My staff is all working remotely. Big shout out to my fabulous staff who's hasn't missed a beat and is working remotely and virtually the last couple of weeks. But we're even seeing that with the vendors that we work with and the providers that we work with. So yeah, a very real issue. That Forbes article also goes on to say that at this point, the vendors are saying, no, we can handle it and we're ramping up. But I guess that'll be determined, right?
We'll see after we've been cooped up for 3 weeks and all we do is just watch Netflix after Netflix after Netflix, perhaps.
Yeah. Right.
What is it? There are always differences in people out there, but there are the people that are taking this as best they can in stride. They want to help. They're trying to stay home. They're being sensitive. They're not hoarding toilet paper. And this would be another thing I would think that the general populace at large could be part of the solution, but give us an idea, James, of how that would be. And what I mean by that is, well, you could just stay off the internet and go on for an hour and limit your time. But there's, as I understand it, a great difference if you're using the internet, if you're just emailing somebody, as opposed to if you're scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or Reddit or any of these services, or whether you're actually streaming movies, the amount of that garden hose pressure that you're using up.
Absolutely, yes. So different types of tasks, like you mentioned, take different bandwidth, take more from that pipe, so to speak. You're absolutely correct. And streaming video and music and audio and things like that are obviously some of the most intensive. So we see a big spike when people are using those services.
I don't believe this is true, but I'll read it to you as the text just came in. Books, even digital books, take zero bandwidth. True or false?
Well, they're going to take some, when we initially download them. Okay, so even my old favorite Paperwhite Kindle, when I fire it up and I purchase a new book from Amazon, it connects to their service and it downloads that. Now, in that case, it might just be Amazon service. If I have if I'm looking at that same book on my iPad and I'm connected to the Wi-Fi in my house and I'm downloading that book for the first time, I'm at least initially downloading something. Now, once it's downloaded, then I'm reading it and it's not taking up any bandwidth. So that part is true. But that initial download, that go and get the data, is going to take up some bandwidth. Not a huge amount. It's not like streaming a video or, teleconferencing or anything like that, or, transferring a huge file from the office, but it is going to take some.
And I think that's, part of the thing I was going to say, text-based things that don't have a lot of pictures or videos or are not going to take nearly as much. And I would assume that so if we're looking for those solutions and we're trying to help out, the idea could be as well that you could take those things and you could download them at times that would not be peak, just like we used to do with electricity. You could get a better rate if you used it at 2 a.m. than if you used it at 8 a.m. There'll be times on the internet when it's not as peaked, and you could download movies or things for consumption later, and then you wouldn't be a strain on it in the higher traffic times.
Sure, and a lot of the services now allow you, even on your iPad and your phones, to pre-download. Even Netflix does this now. You can go and pre-download a video for offline watching. Same with most music services now, Google Play and some of those devices. You use it without internet, but yes, initially you have to initiate that download while you're connected, and it's going to take some bandwidth then. But then you're right. Once it's downloaded, you can watch without consuming that bandwidth. And the quality is generally going to be a little bit better, because if there is a hiccup in the in the internet, it doesn't matter because you've already downloaded that content to the local device, the iPad or the computer.
That's true, and I've actually, again, out here with marginal service in streaming video, even on a good day, on occasion it'll hiccup or it'll just stop and act like you hit stop on the remote and you didn't do any such thing, and you got to go back in and pick it up. And yeah, you won't have that experience. Will be better for you if you've downloaded the content. When it comes to overall consumption of this kind of stuff, though, there's a lot of people out there outside of my class of this that are high volume users, I guess I'll put it, of internet bandwidth, gamers, where it's a constant video audio stream, and sometimes it's amongst thousands of end users, people that stream movies and want it to look beautiful on their 8K television, streaming in high quality. I know some providers are already saying, well, I'm sorry, we're dialing it back. But what are some of the things there that people might notice over time?
So I think everybody's had the experience where they come home after work, or the kids come home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and everybody jumps on, and all of a sudden there's kind of a lag, and of course that's because products like Spectrum, it's really kind of this shared network in your neighborhood. So there is some, as the usage goes up, you'll see changes. Again, capping that, and just because there's a cap doesn't always mean that you're not going to be able to do something. It's just it may need to. Everybody's seen the buffering, especially like in a Netflix, it'll buffer. I know that, for example, large public places where we'll put in a Wi-Fi, we'll cap the amount of bandwidth any one person can use, which doesn't stop them from using it or watching a video. But going back to your hose analogy, if you give me the whole hose, I'm going to use it. If you give me a little bit of the hose, I'm still going to be able to get the water. But, it's going to be different, and it's going to leave some space for other people. So yeah, I think we're going to find those companies and technologies adapting to that. I know even in our video conferences now that we're doing this on a couple of times a day with us, we'll notice varying degrees of quality as things happen. And so, Teams, Zoom, whatever you're using, obviously video takes up more bandwidth than just a picture. So, one thing to help with that if you're in a group doing that is to turn off the video stream, turn off your camera, just use the voice and the audio.
Yeah. Good
so
point.
Lots of different strategies.
Fact,
yeah.
People that, if you want to, sort of compare this, and I find it, interesting in our business. We noted this, when we first converted things to digital, but the idea of, saving a one-page text document and then, like a commercial, a read, and you save that and it's a 2K or something like that. I don't remember what the number is, but really low. And then you record it and you look at the audio file, and it's just an audio file, how much bigger it is than just the text. And then if you were to do it as a video file, they're almost, like 100% bigger each time you go. And I think people gaining an understanding of, well, how can I improve my own situation? Yeah, if you don't need the video and you can just listen to the audio and it's fine, that may make your experience better.
Yeah, and obviously if we're working from home, for example, you're now competing with your entire family that's home. So I know in a business situation, let's pick on Spectrum here. You have a Spectrum connection with 100 or a 200 gig connection, and you're limiting the usage to business applications. Well, now you get home and the kids are streaming Netflix and Amazon and all their stuff, and there's music going on. That's going to consume that bandwidth very differently than if you can restrict it some kind of way, like you could potentially in a business, either capping it or just saying, and I've had clients that have had very internet bandwidth intensive applications to run their business and have had to put in place policies and technology that says no one person can use this over a certain amount, and no one can stream music, for example. We're going to actually ban the streaming of music because, if you have one person doing it, great. But if you have 20 people streaming music, now we have an issue. So we've had clients that have done that in the past too. It's really just a resource management like anything else that we do in a business.
Back to the hose, you hook up enough of those splitters, eventually you're going to get a trickle or almost nothing at the end of all of them if you got too many hooked up, and that's kind of the issue. I know here I'll give a shout out to my lovely wife and bride at the new studio complex here at Orfordville. We've agreed that between 9 and noon she's not going to jump on the internet so that I can efficiently get the broadcast back to the radio station. Those are little sacrifices that we're making, and I'm sure a lot of other companies are making them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else, James, that, in this unprecedented times, I usually don't like this question, is there anything else you want to tell us? But in this particular case, I just feel that there's so much coming at people with individual areas of expertise that us common folk might not even think about, that I kind of like to leave that open as the last opportunity for somebody to just offer suggestions, advice, guidance, or at the very least, a resource for people.
Sure. A couple of things. As always, whether you're at home or in the office, change your passwords. Use strong passwords, complex passwords, different passwords. Use a password manager, like LastPass or something like that if you need help with. Turn on multi-factor authentication. That's the one where you log into your bank and it sends you a text that you have to put in a code. Turn those things on anywhere you can. Don't click links in emails. Be conscious before you click a link or reply to an email if it looks suspicious. And the bad guys get real good at this. And then I guess finally, 2 things that I've got going on right now. If you go out to computer-center.com/COVID-19, we've got a web page dedicated at how to handle technology as it relates to all of this. So more information about kind of the topics we talked about today. I even put together a report for small businesses about working from home. And then computer-center.com/COVID webinar. On Friday, I'm doing a webinar that's going to talk about these issues again. So those are both free resources to anybody that's interested.
Okay, now your answer has gotten some more questions in my brain. We talk about this and the virus and living on surfaces, and a lot of people share PCs, even in a home environment, certainly in a work environment. What should people know, if anything, about cleaning up those things? Are there things, typical cleaners that you might use around the house that would damage a keyboard or a monitor or those kinds of things? What do people need to know in that regard?
Yeah, great question. So, of course, water and moisture is the enemy of anything electronic or computer. So here's how to do it. Really, first of all, I'd recommend that you do this while the computer's off, okay? And you can use any of those antibacterial wipes, and even just a damp, not wet, cloth that has isopropyl alcohol on it to wipe down the keyboard and to wipe down your mouse. But just, Clorox wipes and things like that are perfect to use. They're not, unless you get that one at the bottom of the jar that's, full of all of the liquid. They're just damp enough that they're not going to hurt it. On your screen, you can use those carefully on a screen, and then I always recommend just isopropyl alcohol and just on a very soft cloth for your screen to kind of get rid of the residue that some of that can leave. But those are all great to clean your keyboard and your mouse and your surfaces with. Of course, let them dry before you power the thing back up. Tip it upside down, shake out all the crumbs from dinner, things like that.
All right. Good stuff. James, appreciate the information. Unprecedented times. A lot of people are, curious about so many things, and you've, I think, given us a lot to think about as it relates to home security, working from home, and all those kinds of things on our computers. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Absolutely. All right, a quick break. We'll be back on your talk show on WCLO.
public school educators are teaming up to reach, teach, and inspire Wisconsin students. I'm Ann Harswick, a kindergarten teacher at Doty Elementary in Green Bay. Join the Badgers and the Wisconsin Education Association Council in thanking educators by nominating a dedicated school professional in your community for an Outstanding Educator Award. Go to weac.org to nominate a public school teacher or support professional. We act, we teach, we inspire.
Toyota's family stretches to every corner of this country, from coast to coast, north to south, in small towns and big cities. So you can count on Toyota to be here for you and our community. Because the Toyota family is stronger when we stand together, and it's how we'll meet the challenges of today. This is our pledge to you. We will be here for you now and in all the better days down the road. Toyota.
Is it possible to overreact to market volatility? Financial advisor Derek Hahn from Wells Fargo Advisors in Janesville. What can someone do if they're feeling uncertain that their money is in the right place?
At Wells Fargo Advisors, we offer a complimentary face-to-face meeting to help you find out if you're on track for retirement or if your investments could be better aligned to your goals. We can also see if you've overlooked some necessary steps to transfer your wealth to the next generation. Whatever's on your mind, we're here to listen, and we'll help you evaluate your plan. It's free, and there's no obligation.
Senior Vice President Investment Officer Derek Hahn can help with a complete review of your investment plan. Call him today at Wells Fargo Advisors at 608-758-5310. 608-758-5310.
Our goal is to help you live the life you want.
Investment and insurance products not FDIC insured. No bank guarantee, may lose value. Wells Fargo Advisors is the trade name used by Wells Fargo Clearing Services, LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer and non-bank affiliate of Wells Fargo & Company.
They support our kids' sports teams. They are always there with a gift certificate for those charity auctions. They provide free expert advice on everything from home improvements to improving your golf score. They are the local businesses in our communities. Local businesses have always been the lifeblood of their communities. They're always there for us, and now it's our turn to be there for them. Hi, this is Ben Thompson, owner of Big Radio, asking you to join us in supporting the local businesses in our communities. The stations of Big Radio are making it easy for you to discover what the local retailers, restaurants, and shops are doing to continue serving you in these uncertain times with a new website, shoplocal.fm. Click on your community to find out about new hours, delivery, pickup, and other options that you can use to keep doing business locally, preserving our community's local businesses and the jobs they support. Join all of us at Big Radio and shop local, eat local, spend local, enjoy local. Log on to shoplocal.fm today.
Wisconsin's hunting legacy runs deep. Everyone has a say about the deer herd in Wisconsin. The DNR wants to hear from you. Between March 30th and April 9th, each county will host a call-in meeting talking about harvest goals for 2020. The public can listen to the meeting from the comfort of their home. Visit dnr.wi.gov, keyword CDAC, to learn how to join your local County Deer Advisory Council meeting from home.
Here's to the essential workers, the ones who must keep going, to plant crops, to care for animals, big and small, to care for patients and for family. Because you can't stop, Blaine's Farm and Fleet won't stop. Whether you grab your must-haves in-store or order online and use our drive-thru. Because together, we are strong. Because we serve the hardest working people in America at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
Here at Frank Boucher Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Janesville, we are open and ready to serve you. As an essential business to Wisconsin, we're still here standing by, ready to assist you with all of your essential auto repair and sales needs. We're cleaning and sanitizing more than ever to keep you and our employees safe and healthy. We're offering no charge pickup and drop off for all your auto repair and maintenance needs. We're moving the process online so you can shop, test drive, and buy from the comfort of your own home. We're also offering no payments for 120 days and 0% APR for 84 months on select models. Visit online at frankboucherchrysler.net. At Boucher, we ride with you every mile. Manufacturer suggested retail price does not represent actual sale price. See dealer for details. Tax, title, license, and service fees extra. Ends at month's end.
Make Alexa your time machine. Enable the WCLO Alexa skill, and now you can go back in time and listen to what you've missed. All powered by K&W Greenery in Janesville and exclusively from WCLO Janesville Beloit.
Every man has a place. In his heart there's a space. And the world can't erase his fantasies.
All right, welcome back to your talk show. Interesting times, to be sure. There is still a lot of discussion going on out there, gang, as far as businesses and whether certain businesses should be open or shouldn't be open, and I know how disturbing that is for folks that have been displaced. We'll tie that into the discussion about this big relief package, and I've already looked across social media. There are voices on either side going, this is ridiculous, we shouldn't be doing it. Everybody should have planned ahead, but we also know that a lot of us aren't big planners. The restrictions on the corporate loan side, there are some in there to protect us from them abusing those loans. We'll get into all that stuff as time goes on here, but right now the package has not yet even been passed. In fact, for whatever reason, apparently they already realized they need a full day to discuss and debate this over in the House of Representatives. And the latest I've seen from Nancy Pelosi is she plans to bring it for a floor vote probably on Friday, which would mean the president would sign it either Friday or Saturday. So by next Monday, with any luck, we'll at least have the beginnings of the details on how this stuff will work. A lot of people are very interested, and as am I. This is unprecedented, and I see the pain that it's causing, and having been around enough folks in a variety of different places, I know the longer term implications. What the legislation attempts to do is mitigate those. If you were going to buy a car this fall, you thought, well, when Johnny goes back to school, we'll buy another car and he can have ours. And you worked in the restaurant industry and your spouse worked in the flower industry or the flower shop or something, I guess, which are not considered essential from the list. And you're both out of work right now. The idea that you are going to buy a car is a fleeting memory, perhaps. But if your unemployment will match your salary, at least pretty closely, and then you get this extra check from the government, and the indication is that we'll be back to more of a normal society in 3 or 4 months, we may be able to stop that damage from occurring in the bigger ticket items, and that's really the goal right now. Is to stop as much of the economic damage as we can. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I really don't. But it does seem to be where our elected leaders are heading in this thing. The vote is still out on how this is all going to come out. I was interesting reading this morning about a study that looks at this and says, yeah, but if we keep everybody from getting it, it's still out there. And when we let everybody start going back out, you're going to see cases spike again. And they had a suggestion that we would go into a almost planned social distancing society for the foreseeable future, where we do this, we get it under control, we'd flatten that curve out, we'd loosen up a little bit. The cases would start to climb as we began to interact with each other again, and they would come back and and say, so almost like a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off thing. I'm like, I don't know how long we can live with that. That's going to be really it looks like a worst case scenario to me, but those are the kinds of things that we got to keep in mind. You see them, I view them with interest. They are all predictions only based on the limited data we have about how this thing behaves. No one is certain yet if it will succumb to the warmer weather. We've got it in every country, so it seems to me that 80 degrees is not a magic temperature or anything. But does it reproduce less and with less severity when it's warm? Nobody really seems to have answers. They're doing a lot of testing. Thank goodness we've got a lot of computing power that we didn't used to have, but it's still going to be a one day at a time thing. And I simply continue to throw out there, try and stay up with it as best that you can. A text just in, I was thinking this very same thing this morning. It says, I can't find info on how many people in Wisconsin have recovered, if anyone. Well, the State Department of Health Services says 1. And that's from their website. You can find that link on our resource page at WCLO.com/COVID-19. And we link you to the latest updated numbers. It says number of cases in Wisconsin. Can I get to it quickly enough to actually read the numbers to you? But it tells you the number of state cases in Wisconsin. It tells you the number that are recovered. And right now it says test results in Wisconsin as of 3/25. Negative 10,089, positive 585, deaths 6. And maybe that's not the source. There is a recovered. I got to look for it because in this particular link, it didn't pull it up. But I had it in front of me before, and it says 1. And that's because, again, we don't know how long someone has to be out of symptoms before we say, okay, you're over it now. My guess is that number will begin to climb because the general accepted here is 2 to 3 weeks. And the Dane County case, which is the one that was recovered, was more than a month ago. So I think we'll begin to see the recovered number climb, but right now there basically isn't one. All right, a break for news, and we'll be back on WCLO, Janesville, Beloit.